Now that it's been over a decade since the original Dexter finale aired, I can finally make peace with it, especially with the finale of Dexter, New Blood to compare it to. Dexter has one of the most notoriously disappointing series finales in modern television history, arguably right up there with Game of Thrones and How I Met Your Mother. Critics and fans alike were wildly let down by the Dexter series finale because it ultimately felt forced, rushed, sloppy, and simply not enough to end a celebrated series. I vividly remember my speechless surprise as the final credits rolled after that controversial lumberjack scene and not wanting to believe that a series I loved so much could flop so hard in its final moments. Anticipating that ending all over again is one of the harshest realities of rewatching Dexter. Deborah deserved a much better conclusion than she got, and Oliver Saxon, while intense, was an impersonal villain to end the series with. However, considering the arguably worse New Blood finale, which started out pretty well until once again everything came crashing down in the final act, the original Dexter finale doesn't seem as bad nowadays as it did in 2013. Dexter's series finale really isn't as bad as I remember. Rewatching the Season 8 finale helped me appreciate it more. Episode 807, Yvonne Strahovski as Hannah McKay and Michael C. Hall as Dexter Morgan in Dexter, Season 8, Episode 7, Photo, Randy Tepper/Showtime, Photo ID, Dexter_807_1783. Many fans and critics were outraged by the ending of the original Dexter series, specifically the random lumberjack part and Deborah's death, which seemed unnecessary and overly dramatic. At the time, I was in complete agreement and basically stunned by it. The silent fade out on a bearded Dexter's face without so much as a final voiceover nod to the audience made it nearly feel like I was watching a different show entirely back then. Dexter walking away from his entire life, particularly his lover Hannah and his only biological child Harrison, so as not to hurt them, was logical but terribly unsatisfying. It made sense that Dexter had a tragic outcome as the anti-hero he was, but to cause his own downfall seemed completely out of his character when the entire series was built on his self-preservation. He lost Harry, Rita, his biological brother Brian, his spiritual mother Dr. Vogel, both of his biological parents, etc. He would have made peace with his guilt for Deborah's death eventually, which is demonstrated in New Blood, especially since he's, a psychopath. While it's certainly not perfect but also not completely horrible, the ending isn't as bad as it seemed in 2013 upon a modern rewatch, with certain elements even making it poetic. Dexter, New Blood's frustrating finale makes the original series finale seem better. The final minutes of New Blood were worse than the original series ending. The sequel series as a whole was tonally different from the original show, which wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Seeing Dexter back in action in New Blood in 2021 was exciting and refreshing, especially watching him in a brand new landscape with new characters and different stakes. The series wasn't effectively nostalgic in many ways, but it did add a new spin and take the series in a new direction while still retaining much of the core elements of Dexter's character. The ending of New Blood, however, is somehow even less satisfying than the Season 8 ending. Dexter, New Blood has several loose ends that don't get wrapped up in its finale and also missed the perfect opportunity to reintroduce Hannah McKay, one of the more compelling characters of the later seasons. Instead, the New Blood creatives just wrote her off, saying she died of cancer when it would have added a whole new layer of tension to the series to have Hannah in it and might have offered her retribution or clarity. As new and evolved as New Blood felt, it was also missing some of the quintessential and familiar characteristics of the original series. With Dexter dying by Harrison's hand, the ending once again feels forced and lacks a true sense of closure for Dexter as a protagonist.